since these seem to be the ones that students are having the most trouble with, I wanted to make sure that you've been given the opportunity to practice. So we're going to do these, making sure that there are some negatives. So make sure that you have gone and made a couple of these negatives so that you think about them. That's the problem, is I couldn't find any online that didn't have the negatives. So when I print them, it works. I can put a little line in it, but for my at-home kids, I don't know how to do that. So I hope you watch this video. We're doing the same thing. An inequality is similar to an equal sign. So what we do with the inverse operations to move it to the other side is the same as what we do with this, with the exception, flip the sign if multiplying or dividing by a negative. Okay, so in this case, it's just a regular problem. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and it's x. The sign stays the same. X is less than 1. In order to make our graph, you start with 0, 1, 2, 3, da, 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 da. It does not have a line underneath it, so it is an open circle, and the arrow points this way because the x is on that side. But we can also test that by, let's put a 0 plus 5 is less than 6. Correct. Let's try a 2. 2 plus 5 is less than 6. No. So that means that my line has to go that way. Okay? We'll try the next one. This one has a negative. So since it has a negative and it's being multiplied, I'm going to divide both sides by -9. So I'm left with x. Now I divided by a negative, so that sign needs to flip. And then I'm left with 3 over -9, which can be reduced to x is less than or equal to 1/3, -1/3. So I'm going to put my 0. I'm going to put my 1/3 positive and my -1/3. I'm going to have a closed circle because it has the equal to. So it has a closed circle, and the arrow points that way. So there you go. We'll solve the next one, x minus 2. In order to make this one happen, I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative, so I'm going to move this with the inverse operation of plus 2. You're left with x is less than or greater than 4 plus 2, which is 6. So I'll put 6, 7, 5. This one does not have an equal to a little line underneath it, so it is an open circle. And it looks as if the arrow, since the x is on this side, the arrow will point the same way. Okay, done the first 3. Let's see if I can get this to. We're going to do number 4 now. We're going to make this one down here a negative, but we'll get to that. All right, so this one is, remember that's just division, So in order to undo division, the inverse of that is multiplication. So you're left with x on this side, and I didn't multiply or divide by a negative. I multiplied, but I didn't divide or do it with a negative. So my sign stays the same. 1 times 9 is 9. So x is got a closed circle because it has the line underneath it. Since the x is on this side, I can do the arrow the same way. See the arrow? Okay. This one is a regular one. I am going to just move this over by subtracting 10, left with x. And since I didn't multiply or divide by a negative, my inequality stays the same. 17 minus 10 is 7. So my line would be 7, 8, 6. I'm going to have an open circle like so. And since, and it has an open circle because it doesn't have one under it, but see how that makes that arrow? That means my arrow will go off this way. All right, this one is multiplication. In order to undo that, you're going to divide by 8. You're left with x, and I'm dividing, but I'm not dividing by a negative or not dividing by a negative. So it will be the same sign, 6 over 8. I need to simplify this to 3 over 4. And I'll cross that out because it's the same thing. So I will put 3/4. I'll put 1. I'll put 1/2. And my circle, it looks as if there's no line underneath it. So this is open. And the arrow, since the x is on the correct side, the arrow goes that way. So far, so good. Oh my goodness. We probably won't do all of these because I know that you won't sit still and listen to them all that long. But let's go ahead and make this a negative. Maybe. So that we have it for later. And we'll solve this one. X minus 10, so the opposite, moves it to the other side. You're left with x, and I do not need to do anything because I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative. So x is greater than or less than 12. In order to graph it, you put 12, put 13, you put 11. And I'm looking to see if this is greater than or equal to, and it has the equal to, so that means it is a closed circle. Since my variable is on the left side, I know that my arrow will go the same way as the inequality. Now we've got this guy. This is a division problem. So in order to undo that, you're going to multiply it by -4. Now, this one is negative, so I have to switch the sign. I'm left with x is greater than 5 times -4, which is -20. So when I graph this, I've got -20, got -21, got -19, and then I have to think about my circle. Okay, so this one does not have an equal to, so my circle is open. The x is on the correct side. Let's get blue. So since my x is on the left side, my line, my arrow will point the same way. So that will be this one. All right, we've got x plus 11 equals 16. We're going to move this over by subtracting. You're left with x. Since I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative number, I'm just subtracting 11. My inequality sign stays the same. 16 minus 11 is 5. So I can graph this with 5, 6, 4. I got to think about my point. Is it closed or open? And since it has the line underneath, that means it can be equal to. And since the variable is on the left, my arrow will go the same way as my inequality. Okay. We will do the bottom, and then hopefully we've got it by then. All right, so this one is a division problem. We're going to go ahead and make this one over here, if it's writing, -3. Okay, so this one is a multiplication problem. In order to move it over, we've got to divide. I'm going to divide by 9. I did not divide by a negative number, so I do not have to flip the sign. But it's 12 over 9, which can be reduced by 3. So divided by 3, divided by 3. You're left with 4/3. So I'm going to get rid of all this. On my graph, I've got 4/3. I'm going to put 5/3. And I'm going to put 3/3, which is the same as 1. Let's see if I move my face. Okay, now I'm looking. This is an open inequality without an equal sign, so my circle is open. Since the variable is on the left, my arrow will go the same way as the inequality. Okay, we're moving this 15 over with the inverse property of plus 15. Since it's adding or subtracting, we're good. Don't have to think that hard. You're left with x is less than or equal to 16. In order to graph this, it's 16, 17, 15, and I'm thinking about my circle. That point has to be closed because it has that extra under here. Okay, and since the x is on the left side, my arrow will follow the same way. And our last one, this is x divided by -3. So in order to move that over, we're going to multiply by -3. So we're left with x. And since we're multiplying by a negative number, that inequality gets switched. And 7 times -3 is 21, and it will be -21 because a positive and a negative equals a negative. In order to graph this, you'll have -21, -20, -19. So I'm making my number line. Then I'm looking, this has an equal sign, so I need a closed circle. Since the variable is on the left, my arrow will match. There is the answer to that one. The back side is yours to try to figure out. I will attempt to post the answers, but I'm not sure that I can. So I'll do the best that I can, and I'm hoping for the best.